It's about time, Banter fam. We finally got an Ethereum move, not only on the Ethereum USD chart, but also on the ETH BTC pair to send Ethereum even higher. And this was the first sign that we were looking for in order to verify some altcoin trades to the upside. So in today's show, what I want to do is go through some of the alts that I'm looking at, some of the trends that I'm seeing in the market, and outline a little bit of a plan for what I think can happen to Ethereum over the coming days, over the coming weeks, now that we finally have some bullish momentum from the Ethereum price. So thank you to everyone for joining the stream. The streams are going to stay on EST time at 7:15 p.m. EST. So it might be a little bit earlier if you're in Europe or Australia, but we're just going by US time. So if it's a little bit early, that is the reason why, but we will stick to this time for the next month at least. So let's get straight into the show. And I want to start with Bitcoin quickly before we get into Ethereum and talk about alts and all that fun stuff, because Bitcoin has had a choppy few weeks, and I just want to contextualize where we currently sit for Bitcoin. So essentially for Bitcoin, if we zoom out onto the daily chart, it's pretty clear that this 30K region is still that major resistance. Now, we have topped out at around 29K. We've tested that level multiple times and gotten rejected. But pretty much what you need to know is over the past few weeks, Bitcoin has been stuck in this range since the beginning of March. It's basically been ranging from 26.5, which was the first deviation level, and then that created support for the next move to the upside, and the 29 to 30K zone. The reason why I say the 30K zone is very important is because if we go into the 12 monthly chart, we can see that there's been two yearly opens at the 30K level. So for Bitcoin, this is still extremely key. The thing about Bitcoin, though, is that it has had a massive quarter already. So it already has had a substantial move to the upside, 71%, which is one of the biggest quarters in Bitcoin's history. So it's already rallied a lot to the upside. It's going to take some very powerful driving narrative or a significant liquidity injection from somewhere triggered by something to really get the strength it needs to break 30, because there are a lot of shorts piled up in the 29K to 30K range. Personally, even I've taken advantage of this 29K level as a shorting opportunity because it's been a very good and strong level to short. But for Bitcoin, that is really the key level we're still looking at. Now, I wouldn't be surprised for the next couple of weeks if we just range in this zone. But of course, if Bitcoin ranges, Ethereum can still fly, alts can still perform well, and that is really where the majority of my focus is. Altcoins don't need Bitcoin hitting 40K to perform well. What they do need is stability in the Bitcoin chart. So what we don't want to see is a significant breakdown of trend, a bearish retest of this 26.5 level, and then a test of range highs. It could happen, but that's not what we want to see from an altcoin perspective. You would actually rather Bitcoin just range slightly below the 30K resistance, put a bit of strength back into Ethereum, see a bit of rotational plays happening, and then you can start to look to get into some alts. So that's kind of what I'm thinking for Bitcoin for the time being. Of course, if we break 30, that would be absolute fireworks, but strong chance, you also get deviation and then a pullback in below this range here. Still looking at 24 to 25K as that key support level. I think that would be the level that invalidates a lot of the long thesis. If we go down to 24.5, Bitcoin start to break down from this mid-range region, then that's an indicator that this just was an echo rally. But I think anything that happens in this zone and above, so 24 to 25 and above, would still be kind of a general bull market. And I would consider the general market structure to be bullish if we remain above range high. So that is the level I'm looking at to maintain bullish momentum. I would probably look at buying the dip at like the 25. I know buying the dip is a bit of a meme these days, but I would look at entering some longs at 25 to 24 if we do get down there with invalidation below, because that would kind of wreck the thesis a little bit if we do go down that low. But for now, you don't need to worry about that. We just want to see a strong Bitcoin over the next couple of weeks. Funnily enough, people did start panicking yesterday when Bitcoin had this massive wick to the downside at 27.2. I mean, it was a move from 28.5 down to 27.2 off the back of Cobie's tweet. So if you don't know what Cobie did, he essentially encrypted a tweet. So what it's essentially called is an 𝗧𝗿𝗆𝗍𝗄𝗏6 encrypted message. And what this message enables you to do is essentially hide a hidden message that no one can view unless they can unencrypt it or they have the keywords needed to unencrypt it. Cobie posted this message, and what was actually behind the message was 𝗕𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗁 was essentially trying to predict the fact that 𝗕𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆 would get a red notice from Interpol, which would lead to his arrest potentially in the US. That's a pretty big call to make, but he didn't think his message would get unencrypted, but it did. It got busted open by people that were trying to brute force through. Maybe because he was a bit too lax with who he gave information to, maybe because it was just too short of a message. But either way, the rumor mill really started sparking, and you had CoinDesk reporting on it. You had everyone saying, oh my God, CZ, Interpol red notice, it's happening. But it turned out that it was just a rumor. Now, it doesn't mean it can't happen, but as of now, it was just a rumor, and that's why Bitcoin did have that massive wick to the downside. If you ask me, and I don't want to get too much into the politics of it, I think it was a little bit irresponsible of Cobie to post something like this, because he does have a massive following. He should have been aware of the risks whenever you post an encrypted message, that if it is unencrypted, you could cause a lot of FUD, and you could cause, a mass sell event. I don't know if he had a short position open. I don't know if it was purposefully done in order for him to manipulate the market. That is a very big claim. It's a claim Rand made on his Twitter. Maybe not a claim that I can, hold my hand on my heart and say is true, but it's definitely something that could have played into things. So not good from Cobie. He obviously took a huge reputational hit off the back of this. But, just in general, I don't know if it's worth posting encrypted messages for a little bit of clout collection when the downside is mass market manipulation. So that's why Bitcoin dropped. But once it was revealed that it was simply a rumor, simply someone that unencrypted the SHA message, then Bitcoin did recover. In terms of where Bitcoin's sitting right now, it did break out of this trend. However, we are currently retesting at the 28.1 level. Not a super strong diagonal. I think the stronger level is the 27.6 level for Bitcoin. But, still relatively strong in terms of maintaining momentum, but not super strong from Bitcoin. Really just ranging below resistance. That's really all you need to know about Bitcoin right now, because the strength is in Ethereum. The strength right now is finally shifted into ETH and is starting to shift into some of the altcoins. So this is really where your attention should be at the moment. So we do have the Shapella upgrade, or some of you may know it as the Shanghai upgrade, happening on April 12th. So we are in the lead up to that upgrade. Maybe one of the reasons why Ethereum is catching a bid. Probably the more likely reason, though, is just it's been overdue. It's been constantly bleeding. If you look at the ETH BTC chart for weeks and weeks and weeks. And at some point we said, look, we're expecting a rally. If we can flip this this 0.064 to 0.065 level on the ETH BTC chart. And that's exactly what happened. We finally flipped that level, and we have seen a rally in correspondence with that. So Ethereum has actually broken above range high. This is a very key level. This isn't a small breakout. This is actually quite a big level for ETH to break, because your next target is actually 2,000. Now, $2,000 ETH would be very inherently bullish for altcoins, because alts right now are following Ethereum's lead. Bitcoin is almost being treated as a separate entity by the market. The altcoins are treated in a separate basket, which generally follow ETH's momentum, and we can see that reflected by the total 2 also looking like it wants to break out. So we finally did get a daily candle above range high. What I would love to see for a confirmed breakout for ETH to really give us that sign that alts could perform well is a daily candle close above range high at 1845. So that's the key level that I want a daily close at. The good news is we did get a couple candle closes on the 4-hourly. We haven't had a successful retest, which is a good sign, because what we actually saw with Bitcoin when it broke out of its big range, look at this massive deviation that we saw. So we saw Bitcoin essentially come above this range pre-FOMC, deviate, come back down below the range until it finally broke again. And then obviously it was lights out after that. But Ethereum, we haven't had this instant deviation. If we look on the 4-hourly chart, it happened quite quickly for Bitcoin. It actually happened after a few candles. I'll just zoom in. It happened after, basically 4 hours. It was already back down below its range high. So for Ethereum, the good sign is we've already had 4 candle closes or 3 candle closes above on the 4-hourly range high. So it wasn't just, I'll show you here actually, it wasn't just, a deviation where we pulled above, stopped. The reason you deviate is because stops are set above, they get liquidated, pushes the price up, buyers get exhausted, and then price comes back down and then tests the upper bound of range high again. We didn't see that, which is a good sign, because that would have meant that, essentially a bit of the buy demand was starting to dry up. Whereas we haven't seen that for ETH yet. Still looks fairly strong. We could definitely come down and retest. In that case, if you're placing longs, then you want to set your stop below. I don't know if it's going to happen right now though. ETH is looking quite strong. This is quite a nice pattern for Ethereum. We can see on a very small time frame we are exhibiting higher lows. So we still have a higher low here than this low. And then, I mean, that's on an extremely small time frame, but that's a good sign for Ethereum. So for me, daily close, still the major thing we need to see first before we get too excited about 2K. But right now it's looking like 2K is definitely on the cards. Now, if it is on the cards, altcoins can perform quite well. Of course, in today's show, we're going to have a look at some of the alts that are gaining momentum. I've got a couple DGen plays later. I've got a few altcoins that you're probably thinking about right now, like Doge and like Arbitrum, that I'm also going to touch on and give you price updates for. In previous videos, if you've been watching my shows over the last few weeks, I have spoken a lot about ETH BTC. It's basically the number one chart I've been speaking about. I'm saying, we finally need an SR flip, so a support resistance flip of the 0.064 level. We did get that flip. So we officially turned the 6.4 resistance into support, and that has resulted in a very strong push to the upside. So we saw us deviate and come back in below, and then we had a bearish rejection of the 6.4 level back at the end of March, so about a week ago. That has finally changed. The tide has finally turned for ETH BTC. Now, if you can start breaking back in above this 6-7 range and create what we had for like many months in January, February for Ethereum, that would be great for alts. Remember what happened to altcoins in January? They exploded. Remember what happened in February? They exploded. And that was because you had ETH BTC ranging like this. So if ETH can somehow break back up into this range and kind of get out of this zone and range in this upper bound, that would be the best case scenario for altcoins. That would probably replicate what happened in January and February. If it doesn't happen, it's okay. All I want to see is Ethereum hold 6.4, and then the altcoin thesis is still relatively strong. Is it going to be a huge rotation yet? No, I'm not going to get too over optimistic and bullish and say like it's a new alt season, because the reality is ETH tends to run first. So if you think about that altcoin phase chart when it comes to altcoin seasons, just to contextualize the flow of liquidity across large to mid to small caps, we know that Ethereum runs first after Bitcoin. This is the first thing we're seeing. I think the altcoins, they're kind of going to pop. Some narratives are going to pop. Some are going to pop later. You won't get that full altcoin, full-blown rotation into small caps until the Ethereum pump is done. And I don't think the Ethereum pump is done until ETH hits 2,000. So I think for now, Ethereum actually could be one of the better altcoins to trade if you're longing, because it will tend to lead the market. We can even see today it's up a few percent. Many other altcoins, they're up a lot, but they're not even quite up as much as ETH. Some are up 1%, 2%, 3%. ETH is still generally leading, and that's what we tend to see when we see the rotations start to shift in between Bitcoin, then Ethereum, then alts. But I think you can front run a little bit on some altcoins and start dipping your toes, I guess, in altcoins until we finally see Ethereum top out, and then a full blown rotation happen. This could also reverse, and if it does reverse and ETH BTC comes back in below and ETH starts to break down below its range high, then that's fine. We'll have invalidation on alt. So it's not like we're going to hodl our bags to death here. It's more so taking advantage of long opportunities. I'm not stacking. This is just my personal plan, by the way. You can do what you want. I'm not stacking altcoins for the next year or 2 years right now. That's not my thesis. I'm not DCAing for the next 5 years into alts. It's more so taking advantage of rotations, taking advantage of narratives. That's just the way I'm trading at the moment. Happy in my ETH, BTC, some large cap bags long term. More so looking at rotations in the meantime. So if you want to take any trade on ETH before we get into the alts that we'll be talking about, you can do so on Apex if you want to use the DEX. So if you've got money on your MetaMask, you're trading on your MetaMask, then it makes sense to do it on a decentralized exchange. Apex is an order book. So essentially what it does is matches up buyers and sellers like you would have on a traditional exchange using its L2 rollups, so ZK rollups, to offer pretty fast execution and pretty low fees. I think it's one of the lowest fee dexes I've used, lower fees than a lot of the other dexes going around. And yeah, they don't have that many pairs, but they do have the major ones, and they just launched Arbitrum, ETH, Bitcoin. They just launched Doge, so the pairs are starting to look pretty good. I think they have 14 now. Obviously Ethereum and Bitcoin have pretty deep liquidity. If you do trade on Apex, you do qualify for trade to earn as well. So if you trade, you will earn money for trading. The more you trade, the more banner you make. You can then go into their LPs and stake that banner under the earnings tab here, or swap and manage liquidity tab. So that's another option for those that want to make some money while trading. So yeah, if you're looking for a DEX, link in the description to Apex. I've been doing quite a bit of my trading on DEXs these days. So in terms of altcoins, my mic just dropped. Wow. In terms of altcoins, the first thing to start doing when you want to analyze, where liquidity is going to flow is looking at where the strength is. So for me, I'm not like other traders, and you've got to come up with your own trading style. But for me, I don't look at weakness. I'm not the type of guy that'll long near protocol or Cardano if they've been lagging and hoping for the laggards to catch up. I'm someone that likes to trade strength. And what I really like to see is strong retail mindshare behind a narrative, and that corresponding with pretty strong price action for me to get into a trade. So I don't really get into long positions that, I'm hoping are going to rotate one day and have been lagging. Oh, they're due. I think that's a bit of a gambler's fallacy. It's like when you go into the casino, right? And you play roulette and it's been black 10 times and you're saying it's due. Let me bet on red. It's like, no, it doesn't matter. Things are going to play out the way they're going to play out. It doesn't matter if it's hit black, it doesn't mean it's going to be red next spin. People treat the crypto market the same. They're like, oh, it's due. This hasn't run. That means it's going to run. It's not true either. It doesn't, just because something hasn't run doesn't guarantee that it's going to run. So I take that similar approach into crypto, except I add an approach that looks at strength, and what is gaining mindshare and what is gaining traction in order to look for strength. Because unlike the casino, in crypto, although it can be a casino at times, you can create your own edge. So it's not like you walk into a casino and they instantly take a 5% house edge. In crypto, if you're a good trader and you use risk management and you're in the right narratives, you actually create an edge. So you have an edge over the rest of the market. A lot of people wreck themselves by doing stupid things that diminish their edge, like not taking profits, like buying into things that have already pumped massively, like not using stop losses. Using too much leverage. There's many ways you can wreck yourself and give the house the edge. But in theory, we're trying to look for the edge. So the most basic place to start when looking for an edge, and looking at what altcoins to get into, is simply looking at price. That's the most basic and easy way to start. And for me, a few trends are starting to show themselves. Just even if we look at the 24-hour chart, super simple. On CoinGecko, there's a few strong trends that are leading the market. No surprise, LSDs are one of them. We have Rocket Pool as one of the top performers, Frax is one of the top performers, Lido is one of the top performers. I've been talking about this for a couple of weeks, but I did say last week, ahead of the Shanghai upgrade, that if the market runs, these will be the strong performers. And lo and behold, that's exactly what has happened. These have been the strongest performers. So obviously Arbitrum as well, after having a bit of a FUD event, we'll talk about later, that has also had quite a nice recovery, and that is also now a strong performer. Rune as well, which got hacked, rebounded nicely. The team cleaned up all the mess. That's now rebounding as well. So LSDs are the first thing you have to look at. And any dips on LSDs, I'm planning on buying, because my thesis is, and obviously this isn't financial advice, you've got to make your own decisions. Just want to make that clear. But my personal thesis is, what will happen is, the staking ratios will significantly increase post the Shanghai/Shapella upgrade. A lot of people that wanted to stake ETH that are now getting into the market to stake ETH, they're going to go via LSDs now that it's more attractive, now that you can redeem your ETH back from the beacon chain. The other factor is, there's going to be people that had their ETH staked and locked that are going to unlock their ETH and then go through LSDs. Because what happened was, they maybe staked 2 years ago when liquid staking derivatives didn't exist. They locked into a crazy staking period, and now they want the benefits, the capital efficiency benefits, as well as the position size benefits, because you don't need to stake as much, that liquid staking offers you versus staking through a validator. So in my opinion, pretty hard to see liquid staking derivative ratios in terms of staking percentage not increase. The amount of Ethereum that's actually staked is quite low. It's 12 to 13%. So I do assume that will increase over time. Does it have a direct correlation with price for Lido and Frax? Not necessarily. Or Rocket Pool? Not necessarily, because Lido, for example, has a pretty weak governance model. Its tokenomics aren't as strong as something like a GMX, which will accrue value like quite linearly. Like the more fees they generate, the more token holders earn. Lido's not like that. It's governance. So yeah, you have governance voting rights to pay yourself more money, but you're not guaranteed more money because there's no like direct buyback burn staking mechanism. So it is more kind of a mindshare speculative play. But at the same time, if you see liquid staking ratios increase, then it makes sense that the price of the governance protocols increase as A, the narrative gained strength, and 2, price readjusts versus staking ratios. Because what you tend to see is TVL, not always, but generally, leads price. And generally, not always, it can be a bit of a meme TVL in crypto, but generally what we see is the price will reprice to factor in the increase in staking and TVL. So look, as a medium to long-term bet, I actually don't mind LSDs. As a short-term bet, they clearly have the strength. So that's kind of the first thing I'm looking at. Tomorrow, I'm going to do a video for you that goes a little bit deeper on the impacts of the Shapella upgrade. I'm also going to do a tweet thread on that today. But I just kind of wanted to preface this by saying it's no surprise that Ethereum pumps, and the first thing people start rotating into are LSDs. The next thing is obviously meme coins. Now, meme coins are faded by a lot of people because what actually happened with the Premier League game? I'm getting distracted here, but it's trending on my Twitter. Has it happened yet or not? Anyway, I'm getting super distracted. So the next thing is meme coins. Twitter needs to just get rid of this trending section. It really distracts me when I'm watching shows. I start to read them, and one of the things that's trending is Twitter logos. So that plays into what I was about to focus, Miles. What I was about to talk about. So meme coins, a lot of people fade them in the market. It's not attractive. It's not as attractive as getting into something that is just like really fundamentally strong. But I don't think you can deny that meme coins every cycle, they're the strongest performers. And DogeCoin, just from a pure risk reward perspective, it actually does look relatively attractive compared to a lot of other coins. Now, unfortunately, that's just how Twitter works. It's still how crypto works. It's still very meme driven. So although there's amazing fundamentals for certain projects, sometimes the meme factor, a lot of the time, the meme factor is what causes price to rise. So DogeCoin's clearly one of them. Just to explain why it's running, basically what happened is, just look at the top left corner of my screen here. You've got the DogeCoin logo as the Twitter logo. Elon replaced the Twitter logo with the Doge logo. Funnily enough, it took 50 minutes after the Doge logo was implemented into Twitter for the Doge price to run. So there was a bit of, I guess you could call it price lag between the news happening and the price moving. So there was actually a big opportunity for getting into Doge and making good money. And I know a few friends that did. I didn't make money off it because it was like, I think 2 a.m. for me. I was fast asleep, and now my streams are super early for me in the morning. I got to go to bed early. So I missed it, unfortunately, but I have friends at Banter that made a lot of money off it. 𝗕𝗏𝗃𝗏 as well on Twitter. He made a lot of money on it as well. And I recommend reading this thread because he goes through how basically his thesis and reason for trading news. So the DogeCoin news was massive. There's an interesting theory going around by 𝗕𝗏𝗃𝗏𝗃. He said, short risk reward's pretty good here if it turns out to be just a joke. But remember, 420 is soon. Maybe this is the first sign Twitter will announce on 420. What people are waiting for now is Doge payments. So we've seen Elon start to change logos and start to increase the memes. Like he was wearing a Doge shirt. Will Doge payments be implemented? Potentially. If they are, or if they're even announced, DogeCoin will run. The problem is the second payments are actually implemented. And 𝗕𝗏𝗃𝗏𝗃 spoke about this 6 months ago, I think, or a year ago. The second payments are implemented, DogeCoin probably drops. It's probably a buy the rumor, sell the news event, but we haven't had the news yet. So there's no news to buy because there is no news. It's simply a rumor. I guess buy the rumor, sell the news, right? It's being rumored. But I think what will cause the real pump is the announcement, and then the actual implementation, you get the drop. So we're still waiting on the announcement. I don't know if there will be one. It's all speculation, but that is what people are speculating on. I don't think you really need to know necessarily whether there is or isn't going to be an announcement to trade DogeCoin. It's looking quite bullish, but it did have a top, got rejected at 1070. I want to look at some of the key levels here for Doge. If Elon was married to Doge, his pumping would result in even more kids. Funny comment. So look, with Doge, basically your major resistance, we've already got rejected off at 10.7. The next level is actually 16 cents for Doge. So if you can break, it's had a significant run up, but if you can break, then you're looking at a significant pump, 60% to the upside. Problem is longing here, you're longing into pretty significant resistance. High likelihood that it comes down, and that's already what we've started to see. But if Doge is strong, there could be other meme coins that are worth looking at that haven't performed as strongly, because a lot of other memes tend to just follow Doge just because. For example, Shiba Inu. Shiba Inu, if we go into the 4-hour chart, is very interesting. So it's in an uptrend. It's making higher lows. It's approaching resistance at the 11.6 level. If it breaks this level, its next key level's 14. So it can have a 30% run Shiba if it breaks above. And it hasn't really rallied as hard as Doge. From its monthly lows to its current level, it's up 16%. Doge pumped 30% in a day, right? So Shib's very interesting. Looking at this chart, you potentially have that 14, I want to say 14 cents, but it's not. It's got like 4 zeros before it, but 14 level that I'm looking at as a potential take profit area. You would need to see a successful breakout though to be like very convinced to long. Your next major level above that is 14, and then you have 17, but I mean, that's wishful thinking, right? So look, if we break on SHIB, there's potential that it performs well like Doge, and we do see a rotation into other meme coins. The other meme coin I'm looking at is 𝗨𝗨𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 the upside and then a pullback. It looks pretty strong. Like generally, this is a decent trend. It looks like one big bull flag. If you want to draw this trend in here, and then you can't really draw this trend in like that, but you could do something like this. Very rough trend, but in general, kind of looks like a bull flag. That has a target of 65. So that's almost a double your money move. Full disclosure, I do own some 𝗧𝗏𝗃. Not much relative to my portfolio, but I do own some. Always gonna disclose when I hold coins. I don't hold Doge as far as I know, and I don't hold SHIB as far as I know. Those will be ones I look at trading if there's nice setups. I think SHIB, you've definitely got this setup on the breakout. 𝗧𝗏𝗃, you've got a decent setup starting to emerge. I wouldn't even wait for a breakout. I would play the upside here to 6.4 because that's going to be a 100% move. By the time it does that, you've probably missed the move. So I would wait for a pullback, maybe to this level here, which is the support trend, and then you have decent invalidation under 3. I want to say 3 cents again, but once again, it's got like 4 zeros under the 0.3 level. That would be like a decent stop loss invalidation zone. So that's one to consider if we do get a meme rotation. Look, it's not as strong as with the LSD narrative, but it's just one thing that I'm looking at. All right, let's get into the next thing that I'm looking at, and that is Arbitrum. So I want to get into some Arbitrum price action. Before I get into that, though, I want to remind you of the OKX giveaway that we're doing. Pretty crazy giveaway. I believe I was supposed to give away the MacBook Pro on my show if Sheldon hasn't done it because Rand's away. So let me just check in with our sponsorship team. If it's the case that I'm giving it away, then I'll give that away on the show tomorrow. But that weekly draw is closed. The next weekly draw is the Manchester City tickets, which are valued at $5,000. So you can take the tickets or the money. It's whatever you want. Then you also have a holiday in the Maldives or the money, which is $7,500. And then, of course, you've got the Tesla, huge $50,000 giveaway from the 2nd of May to the 22nd of May. So basically, how to enter this, and I'm assuming most of you have already entered, but for the ones that have missed the memo, how to enter this is sign up for an OKX account using the link in the description and simply trade. You could trade less than $1 and you'll still get a raffle ticket. So you don't even need to trade huge amounts of money to get an entry. You can literally trade $1. Obviously, though, the more you trade, the more raffle tickets. So if you build up your trading volume, you can get up to 26 raffle tickets. And yeah, if you just join, then you'll get 1 raffle ticket if you trade $1. So of course, I want to remind people, trade responsibly. Don't trade for the sole purpose of the giveaway. You can, but I just don't want you to wreck yourself. So don't use crazy leverage if you wouldn't already use that equivalent amount of leverage. Only trade if you are going to trade anyway. Then you may as well do it on an exchange where you can get an extra giveaway. So there's a link in the description to that. Good luck to everyone entering. And yeah, I was going to say I hope one of you wins the Tesla. But someone is going to win the Tesla. But I hope it's one of my viewers that watch this show every day. That'd be awesome. And yeah, that's something definitely to look forward to. Someone asked, why are LSDs so strong right now? They're strong because Shapella is in 7 days. And as I've explained, the Shapella upgrade is a huge bullish catalyst for Ethereum staking in general. Now, it's not inherently bullish for LSDs in the sense that it's not an LSD upgrade, it's an Ethereum upgrade. But what it should do is increase the overall staking ratio of ETH. And the theory is, if more ETH is going to be staked, people are going to liquid stake instead of staking through validators because of all the benefits you get from liquid staking. As well as probably the even bigger catalyst, that people that withdraw Ethereum from the Beacon chain that can now withdraw from their staking pools are going to be able to have now the choice over where they stake. And a lot of them are going to flock to LSDs over Ethereum staking because of the benefits that Ethereum LSD staking gives you. So that's why dips are getting gobbled up pretty fast on those. I wouldn't buy into pumps, but dips are getting gobbled up fast, and it's definitely one of the stronger narratives in this market. I've got a few more cool narratives though for you right now. Arbitrum is the next one. Just to quickly recap what happened with Arbitrum in case you aren't on Twitter, you just watch YouTube. There was a huge controversy on Twitter. Essentially what happened is the Arbitrum Foundation made a proposal to allocate 750 million ARB tokens for admin and operational costs, but the ARB holders voted against it. Then they said the vote was just a formality and that they'd already spent it. So basically what it showed is that governance means nothing and Arbitrum can do whatever they want. So the entire point of the token was to be a governance token. The entire reasoning for them creating a token in the first place and not just staying tokenless was the fact that it would be more decentralized and people would have control over the platform. And that was the major selling point. But we've seen that selling point taken away. So then the question has been, why even did you launch a token if the reason you launch a token you're not even going to abide by, which is allowing people to have governance over the protocol? And it's simple, money, right? Best way to pay investors is to launch a token. Best way to get users is to launch an airdrop. And the best way to generate hype is to give people free money via an airdrop. So this was a very bad sign that Arbitrum is more centralized than people would like to admit. The major call amongst the community for the Arbitrum Foundation is to stop selling ARB and buy it back. I don't think this is happening. The team hasn't said that they're going to adhere to a buyback like 𝗍𝗫 is alluding to, due to the fact that they likely sold their Arbitrum to fund operational costs that they can't recoup. So I don't think there's going to be a buyback. If there is, that would be good, but the trust has already been degraded, I think, a little bit. And Arbitrum had done everything right up until this point, but this was a pretty big screw up. So they were very good with their tech. The tech's amazing. The chain's amazing. They were amazing with their airdrop. Maybe a little bit late if I'm being critical, but in general, the airdrop went okay apart from the stuff that happened amongst claiming. They were amazing fostering the development of new dApps, and their community is very welcoming. And to be honest, no one ever had a problem with Arbitrum, especially on Twitter. They were one of the most loved coins in the market. But this was their first big screw up, and unfortunately, it leaves a pretty sour taste in people's mouths. And I think it's gonna put a lot of people off Arbitrum. If they do anything shady, I'll dump my airdrop back. This was Shady Crimson, so if you're following that, then you dump. But I don't think it affects price long term. I really don't. So although it's kind of shady, and although I'm not happy with what the foundation did, they did apologize, by the way. So they did make a good step to clarify some of the things. But I mean, the reality is, look, they went against governance, and the question is now, Arbitrum is Arbitrum centralized? And the answer, well, at least according to Chris, and I would agree with him, is no. There's nothing centralized about Arbitrum or Optimism, and just like other chains, L2s, L1s, they're not centralized. They're centralized chains. The teams have control over where the funds go. The teams have control over the chain. They can censor any transaction. Major question now becomes, is it a security? Because if they're not abiding by governance, then the team has full control. If it's not decentralized, then are they doing things for profit? And will they be classified as a security? That's another potential headwind if we see some of the regulators adopt Arbitrum under their purview. But as I said before, I don't think it's bearish for the price long term, because I think this is a short-term headwind, maybe for a week or two, then people are going to forget. The crypto Twitter community has the mind collectively of goldfish. People forget to move on really quick. And the fact that Arbitrum chain is so good to use, the fact it's got amazing dApps, I think is going to be enough of an incentive to stay on the chain. Although new buyers may be slightly put off, long term, I don't see it having an impact. So in terms of price action on Arbitrum, it bounced perfectly off my level at 113. This was a really good place to long. In fact, so far, the perfect places to long have been at this level, time and time again. The perfect place to short, well, you had a couple good short opportunities at 130, but then we obviously pushed through that. So this is not a great short level anymore. I think the next level is now the 144 level. So I don't know if Arbitrum has the strength to break through mid-range or test range highs now. I think it's looking a little bit weak or weaker till it makes a higher high, just simply due to the fact that there's some FUD surrounding it now. But in terms of buying ARB, you do have that 114 level. Honestly, at some point, I'm expecting like 70 to 90 cents. I think it comes down here at some point. I just don't think it happens soon. It could easily hit $1.50 before it goes down there. So I'm not stacking ARB long term. Obviously, it's your choice what you do. If you want to stack it long term, you can. I'm not doing it just simply because it's very dilutive. It's already a top 10 protocol by FDV. I think there's better risk reward opportunities in the market than buying ARB. If you are a trader, though, these are the rough charts that you can use to trade on Arbitrum. That's my opinion on ARB. Really, not much of an opinion because wasn't happy with what happened with governance. Also think for trading 114 is a decent level, but for long-term buying, kind of out of the Arbitrum game. I am holding my airdrop holdings still. I'm probably not going to sell them. Probably just going to hold them. If I do sell, I'll let you know. I'm doing a bit of a consolidation at the moment of some of my assets, so I might end up selling my ARB, but I'm not in a rush to, basically. Not in a rush to sell. What are the other tokens that are running? Well, Coinalyze is a great application, which Runner XBT came on the show and made me aware of. And this shows the open interest in the market. So open interest is the amount of total positions open, like leverage positions. And the OI change is the open interest fluctuation. So a huge spike in open interest would typically indicate a huge spike in general interest into a certain token. So what I've started doing in terms of my daily crypto routine, and I recommend you do this as well, is going through Coinalyze and looking what is entering the top 10 that previously wasn't in the top 10. That gives you a bit of an indication as to where money's flowing. Now, there are a lot of coins that are going to be like random, so you need to look into why they're running. Like, I don't know much about Lena or Icon. They are the two biggest for the day, so maybe look into them. But there are a few trends here that I'm starting to see develop in terms of coins that have entered the top 10 but stayed there over the last few days. Rocket Pool and Frax are two of them. Their open interest has gained dramatically. That's under the LSD narrative curve as well. It's very strong. You've also seen, I think yesterday, Maker had a huge bounce. Now it's come back down. So there are a few trends, but there's one that I'm looking at, which is Spell. This just entered the top 10, and it's kind of interesting, this play, because it's a Daniela Sesta coin. In many ways, you could say it's dead in terms of like hype and traction. But Uniswap V3, it could breathe a bit of life back into some of these coins. Now, it's a low market cap, 96 mil. ICE is the other one, which is low, 15 mil. I'm not shilling it. I don't own them. If I own them, it's a very small amount because I do have dust in some of my wallets. So I don't, there's a chance in one of my wallets somewhere I own some, but not a significant amount. And I haven't been buying. But this is an interesting one. This is definitely an interesting one that I'm keeping my eye on because Spell's up and then ICE is also up. So the Daniela coins are getting a bit of a pump. Now Drake, who I do respect a lot, and I think he's quite a smart DeFi guy, is doing a challenge on DBank, like a portfolio challenge. His major position is ICE at $1.08. What did he say? $1.08. It's at 117 now. So if we look at his wallet, his major position is ICE. Now, obviously, I'm not saying copy him, not saying ape. I'm just making you aware that he likes it, and maybe it's something to look into a little bit. Like if there's a rotation here, he says Uniswap V3 is the narrative that he thinks it's trading on because ICE has a similar configuration in terms of its AMM, and then also it funnels some liquidity into Uniswap. Drake is the guy for all that, though. He's way over the fundamentals compared to me. So I just noticed that he added it pretty significantly to his portfolio. And that's just, I guess, one to have a look at, considering Spell is starting to pop up in terms of open interest. So in terms of altcoins, remember, looking at open interest is a very good strategy for looking at what's hot. So you've got price, which is, you can simply go on CoinGecko, Coinbubbles. You've also got like Lunar Crush. You've got social metrics. If you're on Twitter, you'll see what's starting to get some interest. And then you've also got open interest. So those three tactics should give you enough confluence to work out what's strong. So if we look at ETH and say, oh, ETH's pumping, and we think there's going to be a rotation, you're going to be in the strongest stuff. You're not going to be in the weak stuff. Of course, if you're trading alts, you can do so on KyberSwap. It is a DEX. It's not a perp DEX, so it's not offering leverage, but it is offering a spot trading. So if you just spot trade, which, by the way, I do a lot of spot trading compared to leverage trading, dollar-wise, just because I feel like spot trading is a lot safer in many ways. You don't get liquidated all the time. I love leverage trading, but only with small amounts, comparatively. If you want to trade like spot, then you can do so on KyberSwap. They've got basically most alts because they've also got most chains. They'll give you the cheapest fees. For example, if you trade ETH to ARB, they route some through their own ARB pools, some through Balancer, back into their pools through Uniswap to get you the lowest fees automatically. So that's quite a cool feature as well. All right, drop questions in the comments. Let's have a chat. Amazing chain, useless token. I assume you're referring to Arbitrum. Yeah, I mean, most tokens are useless, bro, in crypto. That's the reality. Like, most of these tokens are useless compared to the like, they don't even need tokens, a lot of them. So a lot of the time when you're trading tokens, you're just trading narrative. You're not trading with the long-term thesis that a token's gonna like take over the world, because a lot of the time the token doesn't even accrue much value. That's my number one issue when it comes to buying and holding L1s long term, that the tokens themselves aren't really configured to accrue much value. ETH is, but if I look at some of the other ones, most of them actually, like your AVAXs, etc., they don't do a great job, especially if you're spinning up subnets, at retaining value. And also, as fees get lower, the amounts of tokens being burnt gets lower. So you're not really seeing a supply squeeze like you are with ETH. So it's interesting long term where value is actually accrued, whether it's on the dApp layer or on the L1 layer. It's kind of like the fat protocol thesis, right? That the dApps are going to retain the majority of the growth from that platform. So for me, like if you can buy into a quality dApp, you are going to make the most money, of course, than buying into an L1. The thing with the L1 trade, though, is it's like the lazy way to enter. So if you know people are going to use Arbitrum, it's easier to enter Arbitrum than it is to like pick the best apps on Arbitrum, because apps are more fickle than a chain which is being developed on. But a lot of the time, the Arbitrum price won't rise because of the company, because you got to think of L1s like companies making money. It rises simply because people are using the chain, so they're speculating on it going up. So most of crypto to this date, purely price is just driven by speculation, not really fundamentals. Yeah, it's like exactly like the Cosmos situation, right? They don't really have great tokenomics. So you see the dApps, like Injective Protocol. By the way, this is what I'm watching in terms of trading. A little bit of alpha. I think Injective, it's been extremely strong. We're starting to get some pullbacks, which is good. But this is one that I'm definitely watching. It's performed quite well. In fact, let me get it up on TradingView, see if I can find anything. But coins like Injective and Osmo and those kind of coins have gained a lot more traction than Cosmos has as a token because of their tokenomics too. So it's not just Cosmos. It's probably a trend that is consistent amongst a lot of L1s, that they just don't accrue value the way that they should. And yeah, you could argue Cosmos is a layer 0, but for all intents and purposes, it's an L1. Rejection off Injective off the key level. Definitely watch if we get the breakout here, because your next target is $10 basically. It looks like a cup and handle though. So what we may see is, cup, pullback, and then the break of that level will be the major level for Injective. You like what base looks like? Yeah, same. I think base is great. Runs off optimism, using their plug and play model. I'm interested to see what comes out of that. I think it's roll-ups as a service is what Optimism's calling it. I'm interested to see what comes out of that. Coinbase been on a rally this year as a company in terms of their chain. We'll see how it works, whether it's something like a BNB. Coinbase is facing a lot of regulatory scrutiny, though. So anything that's remotely a security, they're going to need to stay away from, which is what makes me think they probably won't launch a token, at least not for a couple of years. VRA. I don't really have an opinion on VRA right now. I can look at the chart and see if it's something that's running. Gaming isn't really where the strength is. So it looks very weak, VRA. So like I'm looking at strength right now. That's why I'm talking about meme coins. That's why I'm talking about ETH. That's why I'm talking about LSDs. That's why I'm looking at some of these other plays that are performing well in terms of open interest. I'm looking for strength. I'm not looking for weakness. That's just how I'm trading right now. IMX and Matic are kind of, they're those big gaming coins that, they're, as Hustle said on my spaces yesterday, trying to like monopolize the gaming market. It's a long-term play. In the short term, looks pretty weak. Got that massive rejection, IMX. They hyped this announcement. Hype. Announcement was merging with Polygon basically on one of their chains, and then massive dump. The community, my mic keeps falling. The community did not like that at all. So not really one with strength. I'm looking for strength. VRA pump token with bad tokenomics. Yeah, and look, I don't hold a lot of altcoins long term right now. So my strategy, and as I said, you got to come up with your own. My strategy right now is not to DCA and hodl altcoins forever. I'll do that with ETH. I'll do that with Bitcoin. There are some select coins that I just can't be I just love long term and I can't be bothered timing them. And I'll just DCA and hold them. But in general, I'm not DCAing and holding long term every damn coin that pumps. I'm not DCAing and hodling AI coins forever. I'm not DCAing and hodling meme coins forever. I think Doge you could argue, is a decent DCA just because if there's another bull run, it's one of the easiest trades, I think, that's going to perform because retail loves it. So you could actually make the argument to DCA and hodl Doge over other coins, but there's just many projects you just don't want to be stuck into and just waiting for them to pump. So that's why I'm much more looking at strength and narrative trading. Bitcoin, ETH, love it. Long term, bullish. But yeah, short term, we have to treat things differently. And look, for a lot of people, long-term investing is easier because you don't have the temperament to trade. So also understand your personality. Like if you don't have much time and if you're not lazy, but just, don't have the time to, or maybe you're lazy, but you don't have the time to research and trade, or you just don't have the emotions to cut positions and you're not that invested, then a lot of the time it's just easier to just DCA and just manage your portfolio like once a week. So I do understand that if you do that. But part of managing your portfolio means managing like at what point you have a certain weighting of USD. So obviously your portfolio is going to contain like stables or US dollars. And a big part of it is working out when to go heavy USD and Bitcoin, and then when to switch into more of a aggressive model, and then when to go fully aggressive. That's the hardest part. For me, I am still relatively heavy cash. In terms of long term, I'm very heavy cash. But in terms of short term, I'm kind of using those cash to take advantage of opportunities. Look, guys, you have to understand the macros. It's not. I've never been, and I haven't been in the markets for that long, but I was saying this on my spaces yesterday. I've never witnessed such a divide in macro opinions. Nobody knows what this market's going to do on a 6-month time frame. That people are going to tell you that they know, but they don't. The macro experts are just as confused as you because there's many variables here. Oil cuts, do they cause inflation to rise? Does the Fed remain hawkish? Does it do the opposite? Does it cause disinflation? Does the Fed cut rates early in order to stop a banking collapse? It's all just speculative. So it becomes very hard to trade on those time frames. So the best thing to do is just maintain a decent exposure to cash, buy projects you really like long term. When you see opportunities, you have money to get into them and take profits and get out and stack more Bitcoin. So when we look at an altcoin rotation, the goal is really just to stack more Bitcoin, ETH, and stables. However you want to split that, you can split it, but really that's the goal. When we get an altcoin rotation like we may be seeing now, it's not confirmed yet. As I said, I still would love a daily close above range high for ETH. If we do get an altcoin rotation, then we just make some money on these alts and then we just filter them back to Bitcoin, ETH, stables, happy days. And then when we get significant pullbacks, then we start looking at DCAing long term. So like the thing is, Bitcoin, look at the rally we've had. Like, is this the best long-term DCA zone into resistance at 30K? No, probably not. Probably not. Probably be much better around the 20K region or the 18K region. If you have a 10-year time horizon, then it probably doesn't matter whether you buy Bitcoin at 28 or 22 or 18 if you think it's going to hit 500,000, right? But I think for most people it does. Timing matters a little bit more. You're not going to time it exactly. All you can do is average in during general periods of bearishness. This is a period of bullishness, so the time to DCA was last November, and that's when I made my big buys. My biggest buys of the last year have all come during the FTX saga in November. And I'm not some expert because I didn't buy enough, and then we rallied, and then my next buys weren't until the break of the range. But at least I got some buys in November. That's my thoughts on long-term accumulation. Anyone notice that when Link pumps, Bitcoin will dump? I highly doubt Bitcoin and Link are correlated. Link's correlated to Bitcoin, but Bitcoin's not correlated to Link. Let me just check out this chart though. Link. So just clear this up. Yeah, it looks very boring. This is the most boring chart I've ever seen in my life. Avoid. This is in the same category as ADA and NIA. It's just maybe ADA's actually been performing okay. Let me look. But yeah, it's in the same category as those other boring laggards. I'm just not interested in them. Nah, ADA looks awful. I mean, it could break and rally, but it's still just, it looks very bad. AVAX. Actually, if we get a breakout of this level, AVAX is okay, but that's still, I mean, that's still weeks away. So, because we're on the daily chart. Solana looks better though. Solana is much closer to a breakout. So this trade is almost immediate, I think. Within the next 3 days, we're going to have a decision over. I mean, it's going to break one way, so keep your eye on Solana. We did have the high and then the lower high and then the lower high. So it has been bearish, but start to flip. Bullish. I mean, all you're really looking for is 20 to 27. I don't give a shit if we pump and then we get rejected here, right? Because I've got my TP here, and I'll move my stops up to entry if we break, and I'll be out by 27. If it keeps going to 40, amazing. I would have taken my money by then. I'm happy with a, 30% move to the upside. I'm freaking happy with that. You use 3x average and that's double your money, right? Roasting Sheldon's portfolio. Look, Sheldon can do what he wants. The best part about banter is we all have different opinions. Rand and I have very different opinions. Sheldon and I have very different opinions. If you ask me critically what I think of Sheldon's portfolio, I think it's stupid. I think it's not, it's too rigid. It's got a lot of coins that haven't run, hoping a lot of them are going to run. It doesn't obey trends enough. It doesn't obey strength enough. And it's a bit too simplistic. And that's my critical opinion. Sheldon might take my opinion and say, no, you're wrong. It's better to trade these, and this is why. And that's okay. We all have different opinions. But yeah, if you ask me what I think of Sheldon's portfolio, I don't like it at all. But all the hosts are different. You have to find a host on this channel that you, that you prefer, right? Don't just copy us. Just take our information in, take bits you like, take ideas you like, and then make your own decisions. You don't need to copy him token by token, but you can take ideas. You might think, oh, okay, Sheldon, that's a really good Solana setup. Let me look at that. And you might say, oh, okay, Mars, like I really liked your LSD idea. And you might say, oh, Rand, that's a good bit of alpha. And you might like Kyle's strategy. You might say, oh, Kyle's shorting. Well, maybe I de-risk a bit. I don't know. You don't copy us, but you just take the good bits and the bad bits. I just don't love the the portfolio. That's just, me being honest, right? Timothy said, "What's up? How's F1? F1 was sick. Shout out to OKX for hooking me up with those tickets. It was awesome. I'll show you what I got to do. I got to go in the pits with McLaren. I got to put on the headphones and listen to the drivers speak to the control center back in London. I got to watch the race, trackside. Yeah, it was amazing. So shout out to OKX for inviting me. It was really, really fun, of course, to exchange the favor. We're running the, not really like it was a favor, but, we are running the giveaway at the same time. So, yeah, for a Tesla, funnily enough, which is a car. But, no, it was awesome to get to go. And yeah, meet the drivers and all sorts of stuff. It was cool. Carl's TA has been very good. Carl is very reasonable. He traded very well from 20 to 27. Can't fault his logic. Yeah, I think his macro TA is really good. I'll never be as good as him at trading Bitcoin because I don't trade Bitcoin all day. He's probably the man for that. I've got ideas, but he's the man for that. If you want altcoins, then we're talking. Then you can watch my show. If you want the best Bitcoin TA in the world, then don't watch my show. But I'm not a Bitcoin TA guy. I'm looking at narratives. I'm looking at rotations, looking at trends, that kind of stuff. That's much more where I can get my edge. I don't really feel like I have an edge on Bitcoin. I don't think many people have an edge on Bitcoin. I think there's general trades you can take, like shorting into resistance and longing at support, or longing like a really key breakout. Like that stuff's pretty much your fundamental bread and butter of trading. But for me, as long as Bitcoin looks strong, then we can start to look at altcoins. I've been very hesitant to buy alts over the past few weeks because Bitcoin, although being strong, didn't have any sort of confluence with ETH. It was just running on its own. ETH was weak. But now we're seeing a flip. They start to interest me a lot more. Your threads on CT are superb. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Today I'm doing a massive thread. Actually, straight after this stream, I'm going to write it, which is a huge thread on the Shanghai Shapella upgrade, what it means, what the impacts are. I've done videos on this before, but I want to go much more in depth. I want to go like full balls to the wall, full prediction mode on what can happen. So that's today. Carl TA, Miles, research, airdrop, 𝗕𝗆𝗙𝗿/charts, 𝗕𝗆𝗕𝗄 ran macro, hustle. He's gaming. You say I don't know, but he's gaming. 𝗪𝗵𝗆𝗿𝗄. So you're from Bali, right? Or Indonesia. Cool. Well, that's me for now. Tomorrow, I will be back at you for a video going more in depth about liquid staking. And then on Friday, we have a special guest joining us to discuss the charts and then the next moves. Until then, keep your eye on the altcoin market. Keep your eye on what's popping. It's a bit of an altcoin popcorn game at the moment. Monitor ETH. We want that daily close above the 1850 level. Close above. ETH's looking strong. ETH BTC maintains structure. There could be some altcoin plays. Don't use crazy leverage. Make sure to always implement a stop loss. And don't just copy your favorite influencers. Do your own research. That's how I'm gonna end the show. Miles, the airdrop captain. Yeah, we're going for ZK Sync right now. Layer 0 also just announced a huge raise, by the way. Just before I end this, I need to talk to you about Layer 0. Layer 0 announced a massive raise at a $3 billion valuation for a huge airdrop. Well, they didn't announce the airdrop, but it alludes to a huge airdrop. So Mingo said thread coming soon on an airdrop. I want to do a thread on an airdrop, so I'll make sure it's better than his. And I'll get that out to you guys when I can. All right, I'll see you in the next one. Is my fave guy James still here? He is. He just is asleep right now. He'll be on 𝗕𝗆𝗕𝗄𝗪 show later. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, have a lovely day. Peace out.